I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Cascade Township Planning Commission, Monday, April 21st, 2025. I'd like to record that all are in attendance. Article 2, if you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Article 3, approve the current agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Disclose any conflict of interest. Done. Okay. Article 5, approve the minutes of April 7th, 2025 meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes of the April 7th, 2025 meeting.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Article 6, acknowledging visitors and those wishing to speak. If we don't have, for Article 7, we don't have a, do we open that up to the applicant, or do they speak here if they want to?
They should speak here.
That's what I thought. Okay, so acknowledge visitors and those wishing to speak. If anybody wants to speak. We'll give you 5 minutes.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Patrick Sweeney here on behalf of applicant WM Brick and Stone, and Tony Bonham, the owner here as well. We're here to address this strange little oblong shaped piece of property just south of that airport. I think you're all familiar with it. It's 6103 60th Street, and it's been vacant ever since M6 was built. Right now, it's got the 2 different zoning classifications, the ARC and the airport commercial, which combined don't let you do anything with this parcel. But Tony thinks that he has a pretty good idea of how to make it productive and fit it within the community. He already operates WM Brick and Stone just a little bit northeast of the airport, and running out of room, wants to expand, and this seems to be kind of the Goldilocks parcel for him. So we've submitted an application for a conditional rezoning to industrial. I want to talk a little bit about that because the nature of his business isn't really clearly defined by the Cascade Township ordinance. The feedback we've gotten so far is that it looks like a contractor yard. And so that is what we submitted the application for with a special land use permit. Not convinced that it truly is a contractor yard because they're not actually fabricating anything. Really, it's more of a wholesaler and retailer for construction materials, specifically landscaping materials. And so there's a couple different avenues under the industrial zoning district that you could look to. Contractor yard, wholesale establishments, incidental retail, warehousing, general storage, all of those things seem to fit what he's doing. The rest of the industrial zoning district really doesn't. First and foremost, he's not manufacturing anything. He's buying materials from suppliers, having it sent to the location, and then he sells it primarily to landscaping contractors. This also looks a lot like a couple of the uses in the business district, specifically lumber yards and new building material sales, or there's a catch-all in the business district for any permitted use if all business storage, service, or processing is not conducted wholly within a completely enclosed building. So the bulk of WM Brick's materials are going to be stored outside. If you look at the drawing that we have, there's going to be a small kind of office building right out front. Behind it will be a warehousing area to store certain things indoors, store, some of the vehicles, forklifts and things like that indoors. And so we're kind of looking for some guidance from the Planning Commission as to what the most appropriate use classification for this property is. I think it could fit in either industrial, transition industrial, or the general business. Business might be a little bit awkward because there isn't that zoning district anywhere close by, but of course there is industrial right next door. And then you've got the airport, M6, and then county land directly to the east. We reviewed the staff report, noted the concerns about industrial zone creep. I don't believe that that is a problem with this specific piece of property, specifically because of where it is and the location around it. I mean, almost half the property itself is unusable because of the ravines through it. And again, then you've got this buffer of county property that goes straight into residential. And so this sort of hybrid commercial warehousing operation fits in really well with everything that's going on to the west. And with the conditional rezoning, the applicant's willing to make a lot of concessions as far as prohibiting the industrial uses that were called out in that staff report as being potentially concerning. So I guess I would open the floor up, and what questions do you have or recommendations that you could give us?
This is comment period.
Yeah.
This is just comment.
Yeah, just you guys comment, and then what the next step would be us to set a public hearing, and that's when we would probably.
Have more discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess a couple more comments then.
30 seconds, just so you know.
Sure. There's plants in place right now. We don't have access to water and sewer. We can get wells, we can get a septic system designed to deal with that. Truck traffic, very low, maybe a few a day, as far as deliveries going in and out. And again, we're looking at not developing the easternmost portion of that property. So willing to put any kind of protections in place for that because it's not really usable in the first place. Anything you want to say? All right.
Good. We're up anyway. Where do I get my own?
Actually, you could get your own five.
Yeah.
Do you want your own, you want your own 5, Tony?
No, I think I'm good.
All right.
Good?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to make any comments? No? Anybody online? No. Okay. All right, then move on to Article 7, set public hearing for case number 25-3883. What do we have? I mean, let's.
Yeah, let me do a little bit with process here and
Okay.
then specifically talk a little bit more about my interactions with the applicant and the application as submitted currently. This is a conditional rezoning, and to my knowledge, we have not had a conditional rezoning come into the township. I haven't found any, and then the previous staff files. And we don't have a process for a conditional rezoning in our zoning ordinance right now. However, the zoning enabling act does have language that allows an applicant, as this applicant is coming, to request a rezoning where they set their own conditions. So this is a little bit unique from a site plan review or another rezoning or even a planned unit development that would come in, because the planning commission or the township, it's actually an agreement that would happen between the property owner and the township. The property owner sets those conditions, and the plan in the township doesn't have, it's a yes or no. There's not a negotiation or additional conditions that can be added later to that document. So we do intend, if the planning commission sets the public hearing today, to work with council, work with the applicant to come up with a legal agreement that would be binding between the township and the property owner for this property. We're not doing all this right that second, but considering the uniqueness of that application process, I did want to make sure that we ran through what has been submitted and what staff concerns about the broad range of uses that are currently proposed by the applicant. So I hope that answers all your questions. If you have any further questions about the process, Laura would probably be able to explain even more thoroughly. She's worked a lot with other community up to do that.
Yep, I agree with what Andrea said. Typically, a straight rezoning is unconditional, right? If this gets rezoned. So the zoning enabling act allows somebody to apply for this, just as Andrea said, the applicant submits conditions. The planning commission and board can't come back and say, actually, we'd like to add to your conditions. Law doesn't let us do that. So it is their proposal that would be set for public hearing in May and then go up to the township board from there. And then after that is approved, any special land use application part of it would be heard.
Okay,
That process is laid out in the staff review. I do think it would be helpful, if you have a chance to look at the staff review and run through a few of those, the standards for the rezoning.
Probably not tonight.
Not be
Not
helpful?
tonight. I don't,
Okay.
well, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think
So
get the public comment, set the public hearing, and then you'll have all the information and input, frankly.
Well, then there's a draft motion at the end of the recommendation, is that recommendation?
does anybody have any questions for staff?
No, I do want to say though, you guys did a great job of putting this whole thing together. I've spent some time with it. Very thorough. I know I'm new here, so this is really great stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, I was on that side when they first brought this up. Is there any real negative to not going ahead with it? Where it's located and the location, and of course, there's nobody that objects to it. And they're taking care of putting in the septic system, the water system and all that. What is real big objection to doing it?
Well, we don't know yet because we haven't scheduled a public hearing and sent notice to the neighbors and things like that. So the only thing the planning commission does tonight is fairly ministerial, which is scheduling that public hearing. And then notices get sent out, and if there are concerns, other than, what's been talked about in the staff report, it vets all of those out. So the substantive decision would be made after that public hearing at that meeting.
So we're just here to say, okay, let's.
Yes,
An
that-
individual
public
yeah,
hearing,
correct,
yeah.
which you
And then
have
we
to
all
go.
can have, we can ask
Yeah.
questions, we can
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
conversation, we can. hear
We
from
can
them.
deliberate
Okay.
amongst
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah, so,
Will they have an opportunity then, once they actually hear from the public and hear from us, to just amend their request while they're actually here next time? Or is it just like, well, we have to come up, they have to come up, they have to hear from everybody, get feedback, and then just come back and do it all over again?
That's a great question. I'll answer it two ways. First, as they get questions and hear from the public, obviously they get a chance to speak and respond to that and may just be able to address concerns and stand by their zoning application. If the applicant decides, we don't like this, we want to propose something different, then that would have to go back through the process because those would be different things we would have to notify the neighbors of.
Sorry, the Zoom is not working in case anybody. The Zoom meeting's not working. Yeah, I just got somebody saying that I'm. As long as it's recorded and come back up, we're not really.
Yeah, you're not
We're not-
required.
yeah.
It's nice,
Yeah.
but it's not.
We're not-
To have a live. stream.
Yeah. It'd be different if we were having a public hearing where we really wanted to hear feedback from people.
Yeah,
Just noted.
does anybody have any other questions for staff?
No.
With Scott's question, I do want to say, with the applicant, we are required, we have certain statutory requirements as far as noticing, but the applicant is always welcome to reach out to their neighbors on their own and do that public engagement, proactively, apart from the township doing it, and I would always encourage developers to do that anyway, so if.
No, I understand. The process is important. Being on that side of it, I
Yeah.
deal with it though also. And, to be here, they're saying, they're already hearing you say that you think that maybe they need to do better. We're looking, I can already look at what's before us and say like, well, gosh, I've got some concerns about this or that, but, they're asking for some feedback, but we're telling them just come back here when we set up for public hearing, and then we'll give you your feedback, and then you can come back and do it again. It just strikes me as a little inefficient, but if that's the process, that's the process.
Well, you're always welcome to disclose those too.
Is there any feedback that we have based on what we read, let them know that there's a concern? 'Cause I read through the packet and I thought it was pretty well covered.
You know, I don't like that you're not gonna run, I'd like to see water and sewer fund, and I know that's gonna be a lot, and I get it. I don't like, I'm concerned about opening the door, not for you guys, but for, and if you guys have been in front of me before when I wasn't the chair, you know, that's just that I'm always worried about, not the one in front of us, but the fifth or sixth person in front of us.
Right, it's the slippery.
Right, so, I don't want to scare you out of the township. I know you guys have been here a while, so, you know, please don't misunderstand me. I don't know. I want to learn more. I just,
Well, and I think this is, yeah. I have a lot to say, but I don't think it's gonna change much about the plan, so I'll wait till a month from now, to voice out.
yeah, so I don't know if you guys have any other feedback, but that's my feedback, right? I mean, I'm open. I'm not closing my mind. I'm just saying, like, you got a hill to climb with me. That's all.
If we're making quick comments, I'm all for productive use of property. I have less concern probably than some of my fellow commissioners on a slippery slope argument, but I do think that I'm gonna struggle with factor one. I think I just don't know how to say that I think we're bound by the master plan, and so I think that's the hardest factor for me, is looking at it and saying how the requested change fits with the future land use map. But that's maybe where I could do some convincing.
I agree, especially since it was just redone.
Right.
I mean, a lot of time has been put into it in thought process, so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I sort of have the same feeling there too. So we spent, especially since the master plan is so new and fresh, for us to set a precedent like that. But I think that we should definitely have the hearing and talk that through. I think it's important to do for sure.
All right. Does anybody want to make a motion? Or unless you have anybody else has any other comments? I guess I can make mine.
I can do it.
I was
just
looking if
got
we
to
had
it.
some.
We did.
I make a motion to set the public hearing date for case number 25-3883, the conditional rezoning of 6301 60th Street Southeast from AC Airport Commercial and ARC Agricultural Rural Conservation to Industrial on May 19th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. See you guys on the 19th, May 19th. Thank you. All right, Article 8, anybody else wishing to speak? No, okay. Article 9, any other business? They have any other business? No.
Send records.
I know. Article 10, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned.